Have you noticed how some people seem to move through the world as if they're standing inside an invisible fortress? Life happens, the wind shifts, news arrives, people provoke. The unexpected shows up and still. They don't fall apart. It's not that they don't feel. They do, but they don't collapse. They don't over-explain. They don't panic out loud or in private. They simply keep going with a kind of calm that isn't indifference, it's power. And maybe, deep down, that's what you're looking for when you click a video like this. Not to become stone, not to become coal, distant, without a heart, but to become someone who doesn't lose themselves, someone who doesn't surrender, someone who doesn't hand their piece away like spare change to any situation, any person, any opinion. Because let's be honest, the world today feels like it's an expert at pulling you out of your center. You wake up and there's noise, urgency, pressure, comparison, fear, demands. You try to be okay and someone pokes you. You try to get organized and something goes wrong. You try to be kind and you meet rudeness. You try to be strong and your body feels heavy. You try to have faith and reality tests you. And that's where many people break, not because they were hit once, but because they were hit a little every day, in small doses, until they became reactive, anxious, tense, irritated, exhausted, distrustful, and finally, bitter. Today I want to show you a different path, a stoic path. A path that doesn't promise a life without problems, but gives you something far more valuable. An armored mind, a trained heart, a spirit that refuses to kneel before chaos. And if this already resonates with you, right at the start, I'm going to invite you into the practice, not as a random promotion, but as part of the training. Subscribe to the channel, leave a like, comment below what shakes you most right now, people. Money, health, family, loneliness, anxiety, and share this video with someone you love who's been losing themselves to ICLA. Wearing down too much, living as if every small thing were a punch. Sometimes one video doesn't change your whole life, but it changes how you move through the next day. And that's how life truly changes, one day at a time, one return at a time, one more inch of inner command. Now, pay attention to the title. Act like nothing can shake you. That can sound like arrogance, a mask, denial. But here, we're going to give that phrase a deeper, more human meaning. Nothing can shake you. Doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you don't allow what happens to pierce your dignity. It means you don't hand the steering wheel of your mind to circumstances. It means that inside, you remain the owner of yourself. That is what we call unbreakable. Not someone who never trembles, someone who trembles but doesn't fall. Someone who feels but doesn't dissolve. Someone touched by life but not dragged by it. And in Stoicism, that isn't a gift for a few. It's training, in a discipline, a way of seeing the world that returns power to the right place. Because the biggest mistake of a shaken life is trying to be strong in the wrong place, trying to control what you cannot control, trying to change what won't change, trying to force people to be fair, trying to make the past not exist, trying to guarantee the future, trying to avoid loss, trying to avoid aging, trying to avoid risk. And while you fight the inevitable, you weaken in the only place you could become strong. In your response, your character, your choice. So let's begin with the foundation of everything. What shakes you is not the event. It's the place inside you that you handed to the event. That's hard to hear, but it's liberating. Because if the event were the real problem, you'd be a hostage. You'd be a leaf in the wind. But if the inner place is the problem, then there's a solution. There's training, there's return. Stoicism gives you the distinction that saves lives from the inside. What depends on you and what doesn't. When you wake up and place your peace in what doesn't depend on you, you're begging to suffer, because what doesn't depend on you will change, will fail, will contradict you, will disappoint you. But when you learn to place your peace in what does depend on you, you create a stability the world can't easily steal. What depends on you? Your judgment, your intention, your choice, your posture, your character, your self-control, your discipline, the way you speak, the way you act. Would you feed your mind? And what doesn't depend on you? Other people's mood, traffic, weather, other people's decision, the past, the unexpected, recognition, public opinion, time. It sounds simple, but this distinction is a sword. It cuts needless suffering. It returns your energy. It returns your center. Now I want you to picture an everyday scene. You're on your way to handle something and someone disrespects you. Or you open a message and see criticism. Or you discover something unfair, or you plan something and it collapses. What happens inside you? The mind shouts, the mind interprets, the mind inflates. The mind creates a movie, and that is where you lose yourself. You don't lose yourself in a fact, you lose yourself in a film. You lose yourself in the story your mind tells about the fact. And that story is almost always made of extreme. This is unbearable. This is the end. No one respects me. I can't take it anymore. This always happens to me. I'm a failure. The world is unfair. Notice how these sentences are too big for a small event. Notice how they don't describe the moment. They describe an old wound. And Stoicism enters like medicine. It teaches you not to give immediate assent to the first impressions. You are not obligated to believe your first thought. You are not obligated to obey your first emotion. You are not obligated to react on impulse. You can pause. You can look. You can separate fact from narrative. You can choose your response. And that pause is the beginning of unbreakable. But for many people, the pause feels impossible because they were trained to live on reflex. Stimulus arrives. They react. Anger arrives. They explode. Fear arrives. They run. Sadness arrives. They quit. And later, they regret it. The Stoic trains a muscle most people never train. The muscle between what happens and what you do with what happened. And that muscle is your freedom. That's where you become someone who acts like nothing can shake you. Because you don't hand the command of your mind over to impact. You absorb the impact, but you respond with choice. That is a level of power the modern world doesn't teach, because the modern world profits from your reactivity. It wants you anxious. It wants you outraged. It wants you consuming. It wants you arguing. It wants you comparing. Stoicism calls you into a silent rebellion. You will not be governed by that. Now, let me take you to what might be the hardest and most transformative principle of all: accepting the inevitable without becoming passive. Many people confuse acceptance with giving up, but in Stoicism, acceptance is clarity. To accept is to recognize what is already real, so you can act where you can act. Resisting what is already real is wasting life. It's spending energy, denying. It's like pushing a wall and calling that strength. It isn't strength, it's stubbornness. Real strength is looking at the fact and saying, this is, and then saying, now what do I do with this? That second question is where life changes, because the unbreakable person isn't someone without problems. There's someone who doesn't waste energy fighting the fact that the problem exists. They go straight to what is possible. They go straight to the present. They go straight to the next step. And here, I want to speak to you with the respect your maturity deserves. If you're 35, 50, 60, 70 or more, you've already watched life change. You've seen plans fail. You've seen people leave. You've seen the body change. You've seen money come and go and not come back. You've learned, even if you've never put it into words, that life is not a contract. So why, sometimes, do you still behave as if it owed you predictability? Why do you still get shocked by instability? Why do you still suffer as if it were a personal injustice that the world is human? The answer is simple. The mind has an inner child that wants total safety, and when it doesn't get that, it panics. Stoicism matures that inner child. It says, there will be no total safety, but there can be dignity, and dignity is worth more. Dignity is what keeps you whole when safety fails, and it will fail, sooner or later, in some form. Now let's touch something very practical. If you want to be unbreakable, you must stop trying to control the image other people have of you. That is a quiet prison living, to be understood, approved, praised, respected all the time. It's a fatigue that doesn't always show in the body, but it destroys the soul, because you become dependent on an external thermometer, and external thermometers aren't reliable. Today they praise you. Tomorrow they criticize you. Today they value you. Tomorrow they discard you. If your peace depends on that, you live at the mercy of the crowd. You live asking permission to exist. Stoicism cuts through this with an inner sentence. I will be guided by conscience, not applause. This isn't arrogant, it's sanity. Applause is sweet and addictive. Criticism, when you're enslaved to it, becomes a slow death. The unbreakable person isn't someone who doesn't care about anyone. They're someone who doesn't abandon themselves just to fit into everyone's expectations. They can hear opinion, but they don't live inside them. They can receive critique, but they don't define themselves by it. They can enjoy praise, but they don't become addicted. They stay centered. And one immediate consequence of that is this. You stop over-explaining. You stop chasing approval. You become simpler. And simplicity is one of the strongest signs of an armored mind. Because a desperate mind talks too much, proves too much, argues too much, reacts too much. A centered mind speaks with precision. A centered mind chooses its battle. A centered mind understands it doesn't need to win every debate. Because debates aren't always about truth. Sometimes they're about ego. And you don't need to feed someone else's ego to protect your own center. Now let's move into something that makes you truly steady, not confusing emotion with command. Human emotions are like weather. Sometimes it rains inside. Sometimes it's sunny. Sometimes there's a storm. And many people live as if in a weather we're in order. I'm angry. so I'll explode. I'm sad, so I'll quit. I'm afraid, so I'll retreat. I'm anxious, so I'll control everything. But emotion is not an order. Emotion is information. It reveals something, but it doesn't decide for you. The Stoic learns to listen to emotion without obeying it. They say, I see you. Anger, I understand your message, but you will not drive. They say, I see you. Fear, I know you're trying to protect me, but I will act with prudence, not panic. They say, I see you. Sadness, I will hold you, but I will not drown. That is self-control. And in Stoicism, self-control is not repression. Repression is pushing things down and pretending they aren't there. Self-control is recognizing, choosing. It's keeping character sovereign. That's why the Stoic can look like nothing touches them. Things touch them, but they aren't possessed. So I want to give you a sentence to carry through the day. I feel, but I choose. This is gold, because many people think strength means not feeling. So they try to become stone and they turn hard, cold, distant. Stoicism is not that. Stoicism is trained humanity, sensitivity with structure. You feel, but you choose. And that can make you more loving, too, because you don't pour your storms onto others. You don't transfer pain. You don't become a carrier of chaos. You become a point of order. Now we enter one of the most powerful Stoic principles of all, turning obstacles into material. This idea is beautiful and dangerous in the best way. Dangerous because it can change your life. Most people see obstacles as an ending. The Stoic sees them as training. Most people see them as a curse. The Stoic sees an opportunity for virtue. And be careful. This isn't romanticizing suffering. This isn't saying, thank you, universe, for hurting me. No, it's more sober. This happened. Now I will use it to strengthen myself. Someone provokes you can use it to train patience and control of the tongue. Your criticized can use it to train humility and discernment. You lose something, you can use it to train detachment and gratitude for what remains. You'll face delay, you train serenity. You're treated unfairly, you train justice without becoming revenge. Do you see what this does? Suddenly, life can't stop you anymore. It can only give you material. And when you turn obstacles into material, you stop being a victim. You become an alchemist, you take lead and make gold. You take chaos and make character. And I know someone might think, but I don't want more training, I just want peace. I understand. Truly, real peace doesn't come from a world without problems. It comes from a mind prepared for a world with problems. Real peace is born when you stop demanding that life be different from what it is and start demanding of yourself the presence needed to walk through it. That isn't cruelty. It's mature love. Mature love doesn't promise comfort. It builds strength. Here's another foundational principle. Reduce artificial need. Many people are easily shaken because they carry inner addictions. They won't admit addiction to recognition, addiction to control, addiction to certainty, addiction to being loved by everyone, addiction to never being wrong, addiction to never being criticized, addiction to never being alone, addiction to never feeling pain. The more needs, the more vulnerability, because life will deny some of them. And when it denies them, you break. Stoicism asks, what do I not need in order to be dignified? That question is poison to the ego and medicine to the soul. What do I not need? I don't need everyone to like me. I don't need to be comfortable all the time. I don't need certainty about everything. I don't need to win every dispute. I don't need to be right all the time. I don't need to be perfect. When you release these needs, you'll become lighter. Unlikeness is strength. The weight of your inner demands is what knocks you down, not the world itself. Now notice this, being unbreakable is not increasing rigidity. It is increasing inner flexibility. Rigidity breaks, flexibility adapts. And Stoicism, despite its reputation as hard, is actually a philosophy of lucid adaptation. It teaches you to bend without losing form, to yield without humiliating yourself, to accept without quitting. That is rare maturity. Now I want to step into a place where many people get trapped. Rumination. You know what? That is something happened. It's over. But your mind keeps chewing it. Yesterday's conversation, a sentence, an injustice, a shame, a mistake. Your body is in the present, but your mind is chained to the past. And that steals life. It steals sleep. It steals health. Stoicism gives you a key. The past is not yours anymore. The past is a fact. The only thing you can do with the past is learn. And once you learn, you release. Rumination is trying to change the past with thought. It's knocking on a door that doesn't open anymore. The unbreakable person learns to say, it's done, and it's done. Isn't carelessness, it's sanity. You'll learn, you'll adjust, you'll move forward, because life is now, and if you lose now, you lose everything even. If you win every argument in your head, so one essential principle for acting like nothing can shake you is this: don't extend the impact inside yourself. The world may hit you once, don't hit yourself 100 more times with thoughts. Criticism can stink, don't turn it into weeks of self-punishment. A mistake can hurt, don't turn it into identity. A loss can hurt, don't turn it into chronic despair. The Stoic feels pain in its proper time, but doesn't feed pain with narrative. They suffer what is necessary, not what is infinite. That is self-love at a level that changes your life. Now let's talk about the body, because being unbreakable ISN, the only mental. An unstable mind is often a dysregulated body, short breathing, constant tension, poor sleep, too much stimulation, too much caffeine, too many screens, too little movement, inflammatory food, anxiety continuously fed. The Stoic doesn't separate nature and mind. They understand you are a whole system. So if you want to act like nothing can shake you, you must care for your nervous system. You must learn to lower the inner volume. That starts with simple things: longer breaths, better sleep, walking, moments without screens, stopping the habit of poisoning yourself with news all day, because you cannot want an inner monk while living like a hostage to stimulation. Armor is also mental hygiene, and mental hygiene is choosing what you consume. Some content is emotional trash. It makes you irritated, fearful, outraged, paranoid. You call it information, but it's just fuel for anxiety. Stoicism teaches you to be selective. If something doesn't make you more lucid, more serene, why are you letting it live in your mind? You wouldn't let anyone walk into your house and wreck it. Why let anything walk into your head and wreck your day? Now here's a principle that transforms relationships. Stop being shocked by people's humanity. One of the greatest sources of frustration is expectation. You expect fairness and you don't get it. You expect gratitude and you meet entitlement. You expect recognition, and you get silence. You expect maturity, and you meet childish reaction. And then you suffer twice. You suffer for what they did, and you suffer because you believe they shouldn't do it. The Stoic is not naive. They observe and understand. People have virtues and flaws. Some are in inner war. Some are insecure. Some are arrogant. Some are needy. Some are wounded. And many will act from that place. When you understand this, you stop being shocked. And stopping shock is powerful armor, because shock is what knocks you down. You don't need to become cold and distrustful. You just need to become realistic with gentleness. You learn to expect less perfection and set boundaries without hatred. That is unbreakable. Boundaries without hatred. Now let's go deeper, because there's a jewel here. Being unbreakable isn't not being touched by anyone. It's not being controlled by anyone. You can love deeply and still not lose your center. You can care and still stay grounded. This is what E.D. called love with a spine. Love that doesn't beg. Love that doesn't humiliate itself. Love that doesn't bargain away dignity. And that is Stoic, because the Stoic loves but doesn't sell themselves. They give but don't abandon themselves. They help but don't destroy themselves. They welcome but don't erase themselves. And that balance is rare. It begins with one simple inner sentence: I can love someone without handing them my center. Let that land, because many people confuse love with emotional dependence. And emotional dependence is the opposite of unbreakable. It is living in panic around someone else's mood. Living in fear of being left, doing what you don't want just to not lose, shrinking yourself to be accepted. That corrodes the spirit. Stoicism invites you to love with presence, not with desperation. Now we arrive at a level that makes you almost unbeatable from the inside. Learning to speak to yourself the right way. Many people try to be strong by speaking to themselves like an enemy, insulting themselves, humiliating themselves, comparing themselves, blaming themselves, pressuring themselves, and they call that discipline. It isn't. It's inner violence. Inner violence weakens you. It may produce productivity through fear, but it destroys peace. The Stoic is firm with themselves, but not cruel. They correct themselves like a teacher, not like an executioner. They say, that wasn't good, let's adjust. They say, you made a mistake, learn. They say, you're afraid, breathe. Keep going. They say, you're tired, don't destroy yourself. That inner voice is armor, because in hard moments, the person who saves you or sinks you is you. If your inner you is an enemy, you'll break his. If your inner you is a leader, you will move through. So an essential principle for acting like nothing can shake you is this: be the voice that returns you to center, not the voice that pushes you toward the abyss. And this is trained. At first, you won't believe it. At first, you'll fall into old habits, but you return. You return with firmness. You'll return with repetition. You'll return with presence. And by returning again and again, you build a new pattern. Now I want to touch something that scares people but frees them. Finitude. Yes, death, time, endings. The Stoics spoke of this without drama because they understood that forgetting finitude makes you waste your life, and remembering finitude makes you choose better. When you remember your life is limited, you stop giving your peace away to nonsense. You stop fighting out of pride. You stop holding grudges for years. You stop postponing what matters. And that makes you unbreakable. Because many of the things that shook you were inflated by ego. When you remember time, ego shrinks. What matters grows. You become lighter, calmer, more decisive. You start asking, is it really worth losing my soul over this? And often the answer is no. That question is steel armor. Now let me take you somewhere more intense. Because we need to talk about real pain, loss, illness, grief, major injustice, betrayal, collapse, deep loneliness. In those moments, talking about not being shaken can sound almost offensive. But here is the truth. Stoicism doesn't promise pain won't touch you. It promises pain doesn't have to destroy you. There's an enormous difference between being wounded and being destroyed. You can be wounded and still keep dignity. You can lose and still keep kindness. You can cry and still keep direction. You can fall silent and still keep faith. The unbreakable person in these moments is the one who does not become worse because of pain. They don't use pain as an excuse to become cruel. They don't use pain to abandon their value. They don't let pain kidnap who they are. That is immense spiritual strength. And here's a principle that changes everything. Your character is more important than your circumstance. Circumstances change. Character remains. Circumstance can knock you down outside. Character lifts you inside. When you decide your character is your priority, you become someone who even on terrible days doesn't completely lose themselves. You may be on the floor, but not humiliated. You may be weak, but not surrendered. You may be sad, but not without direction. That is unbreakable. Now let's talk about a kind of strength almost no one trained. The strength not to react. There is quiet power in not answering immediately, in not stepping into provocation, in not returning the same coin, in not explaining, in not defending yourself at all costs, in not winning the argument, in simply remaining. Many think that is weakness. It isn't. Weakness is being pulled like a puppet by every stimulus. Strength is choosing when to act and when not to act. Strength is governing your tongue, your impulse, your ego. Stoicism calls this temperance, and temperance is armor. Because without temperance, people live in inner ruin. Constant guilt, words stuck in the throat, always repairing damage done in impulse. That exhausts you, that ages. So if you want to act like nothing can shake you, you must learn to delay the response. The pause is your freedom. The pause is where you choose dignity instead of reflex. And in that pause, you ask, what is the right response? Not the response that feels good immediately. Not the response that takes revenge. Not the response that humiliates. The right response, that question is stoic. And that question saves you from many regrets. Now, let me give you a principle that protects you from the modern world. Don't negotiate with your own conscience. Today, the most common temptation is to abandon yourself little by little. A small whatever. A small later. A small I can today. Small I deserve to escape. And distraction by distraction, you lose yourself not all at once, but slowly. Then one day you look in the mirror and don't recognize who you become. Stoicism isn't moralism. It's commitment to the best in you. The unbreakable person is often the one who keeps inner commitments, even when nobody is watching. Not to look strong, because it keeps them whole. They understand discipline isn't punishment. Discipline is protection. It protects your mind from chaos. It protects your life from regret. It protects your future from your worst impulse. So one principle to become unbreakable is do what you know is right, even when you don't feel like it. That doesn't mean becoming a machine. It means not becoming a slave to mood. Mood changes. Character must remain. You don't need inspiration to act with dignity. You need commitment, and commitment is a form of... Now, I want to touch something that if you truly understand, it will change your entire way of living. Most people don't suffer because of what happens. They suffer because of what they think it says about them. A no becomes I'm not enough. A criticism becomes I'm incompetent. An abandonment becomes I'm unlovable. A delay becomes my life is a mess. And that is devastating, because you turn events into identity. But identity built on events is sand. Stoicism teaches you to build identity on values. Values are rock. Values are more stable than circumstances. You can lose things and still be honest. You can be criticized and still be just. You can be abandoned and still be dignified. You can fail and still be courageous. That returns your center because it returns dignity that doesn't depend on the world. So here is a sentence to keep like a Stoic talisman. This does not define who I am. This only happened. Repeat it when you feel the urge to shrink, when you feel the urge to hate yourself, when you feel the urge to judge yourself. This does not define who I am. This only happened, and now I choose the next step with character that keeps you standing. Now let me take you to the climax of this conversation, because there comes a point where Stoicism becomes more than philosophy. It becomes a spiritual practice of sovereignty. It's when you understand that being unbreakable is not beating the world. It's not losing yourself, not losing your soul to noise, not losing your light to resentment, not losing your dignity to impulse, not losing your peace to opinion, not losing your presence to anxiety. That is it. And when you understand this, your life changes because the enemy changes location. You stop fighting the world and you start fighting for your integrity. And fighting for your integrity is a fight worth living. The world will keep trying to provoke you. People will keep having bad days and throwing them at you. Life will keep being unstable. News will keep arriving. Your body will keep changing. Time will keep moving, but you can choose a different posture. You can choose to be someone who doesn't surrender. And that is trainable. How? By returning, always returning. You will leave your center. You will get irritated. You will worry. You will lose yourself. And then you return. Returning is victory. The secret is not never being shaken. The secret is not living inside the shaking. The secret is not making the shaking your home. You return. You breathe. You choose. You correct. You continue. And by returning again and again, you become a new you. Steadier, calmer, firmer. Now imagine your life a few months from now, if you truly practice this not as theory, but as a discipline. You wake up and remember, today I care for what depends on me. An unexpected problem comes and you remember, this is fact. I will not add a story. You meet a difficult person and you remember, I don't control them. I control my posture. You receive criticism and you remember, I can learn without destroying myself. You feel anger and you remember, I feel but I choose. You feel anxiety and you remember, I don't need to control everything to be safe. You feel sadness and you remember, I can suffer without abandoning myself. You have a bad day and you remember, I will not become worse. Because of this, you start noticing your mind is quieter. You regret less. You waste less energy on nonsense. You sleep better. You argue less. You respect yourself more. And when you respect yourself more, something truly magical happens. Not fantasy magic, real magic. You become a safer home for yourself. And when you become a safe home for yourself, the world has less power to invade you. And here is the final point I want to carve into you. The unbreakable person is not the one who looks strong to others. It's the one who becomes loyal to themselves, loyal to their values, loyal to their conscience, loyal to their center. You don't need to prove anything. You need to preserve what is sacred in you. Sacred here isn't religion, it's essence. It's your character. It's your dignity. It's your ability to choose well, even when life is hard. So when you hear someone say, act like nothing can shake you, you won't hear it as a pose anymore. You'll hear it as sovereignty, self-control, presence, a mind that isn't sold cheaply. You'll understand that life can knock on the door, but it doesn't enter without invitation because you have an inner citadel. Because you have discipline. Because you have discernment. Because you learn the difference between what is yours and what isn't. Because you learn to accept without quitting. Because you learn to feel without obeying. Because you learn to be guided by conscience, not applause. Because you learn to turn obstacles into training. Because you learn not to extend impact through rumination. Because you learn to be firm without being cruel, flexible without losing form, strong without becoming stone. And if you want to turn this into a simple commitment for today, one that fits in the pocket of your soul, here is a short sentence to carry. Nothing can pull me out of myself without my permission. Repeat it when you feel the urge to explode. Repeat it when someone tries to provoke you. Repeat it when the world gets loud. Repeat it when fear tries to drive. Nothing can pull me out of myself without my permission. And then return to what depends on you. Return to your breath. Return to your intention. Return to the next right step. Return to dignity. If this message reached you, comment unbreakable below, like a seal, like a reminder to yourself, and share it with someone who needs to learn to protect themselves without hardening, to be strong without losing humanity, to stand tall without becoming stone. Because being unbreakable, in the end, is this: staying human, with a spine on the inside,